Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. I'm Rachel Ruby. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, which is how to stop emotional attachment to your former spouse or your ex, as people like to say, even when you don't want them back. Now, this is a very important issue, and it's a core topic in healing from divorce, because if you are a listener or viewer of my podcast, you know that I present a lot of ways to help you heal, to further your healing journey from divorce to bliss. And I love doing that. But I thought that it was very important to talk about this today, because if you haven't emotionally detached yourself from your ex-spouse, then no matter how many things I present or tell you to do in order to heal, it's going to be very difficult. So today we're going to talk about this and why this is one of the biggest blocks to healing and in making the journey from divorce to bliss. I hear from a lot of people who are going through divorce healing that they get triggered by things that their former spouse is doing. They might see it on social media. They might be told from a friend. Maybe their children even say something. And this, if you feel that trigger or that pull, or if you're still thinking about them all the time and you have all these thoughts going on in your head about the marriage, etc., then that is key that you are having a very hard time detaching yourself. So let's talk about how to let this emotional bond go so that we can heal and move forward with our new life after divorce. First, I want to go into letting go emotionally versus letting go logically. Now, logically can usually be easy because we know in our minds, let's say, that this relationship no longer serves us and it's time for us to move forward. And so it might be easier for us to, in that perspective, to say, I'm letting go of this marriage. I'm letting go of this relationship. But letting go emotionally can be obviously a lot more difficult. And as you know, if you're going through the healing process or have gone through it or are about to start, that divorce stirs a lot of crazy emotions and they can be a mess. But most of us don't consider why it's easier for us to let go of something that might be related to divorce. Say like your home, your marital home, right? When you get a divorce, you may sell that home, and that may be hard for you, but it may also be easier than letting go of the emotional attachment to the former spouse. This does not mean that you are weak or that you have any problems with your self-confidence. It really takes something more than that to unravel. And so we're going to talk about your nervous system and why your nervous system is conditioned or has been conditioned to associate that relationship, that former spouse, and the relationship that you had with them as something that is normal, familiar, and safe. It is emotional regulation, right? So the nervous system doesn't care whether that relationship was right or wrong. That is not what's important. You have something in your brain called your amygdala. Your amygdala is set, its role is to look out for red flags or danger, right? If you think of the caveman example, the caveman was always making sure or alert to the fact that maybe a bear might come or my fire might go out, or, what am I going to eat? I don't have any food. So likewise, when we're healing emotionally, your amygdala wants to protect you and look out for any danger or red flags. So when you and your spouse separate, that which was normal and safe to your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response, that's where that comes from, those things are now changed. And so your sympathetic nervous system is saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's a problem, alert, right? Sending out the red flags, because what was routine, predictable, and stable, which was you being in this relationship and regulating your emotions within the relationship with the other spouse, is now no longer. So Also, the nervous system sees the identity that we had. We were the husband or the wife or the partner, and we became used to that, or your nervous system became used to that and expected that. This familiarity with what was normal became a pattern. And so our brains love patterns, our nervous system loves patterns, and it's concerned more with survival, like I mentioned, than it is with your happiness. So the person who fits into that pattern, the former spouse, was seen by the nervous system as normal. There's a conflict between that view that the nervous system takes and how you are going to progress, which can create triggers for you, which can create difficulty in healing, difficulty in letting go, and emotional instability. And this can also lead to thoughts in your head. You may think of so many things, good times that happened in the relationship, times that were beautiful and fun, you shared together. And so all of these things are happening within your brain, and it is conflicting with your logical viewpoint because the sympathetic nervous system doesn't see it that way. Let's look at an example. Let's say that you've lived in a home for a very long time and you know all of the nuances of the home. You know that when you turn on that faucet downstairs, it makes a loud noise for a second. And you know that when you don't keep the shutters closed in the morning, the sunlight streams in really bright and can fade the floor, right? You know all the nuances of your house. Well, similarly, the nervous system knows every part of that home and every nook and cranny. And so when we sell the home, the nervous system goes into this frenzy. What's happening? There's no more normal. Where's the home, right? And now there's a new space. And so the nervous system has to realize that this new space is safe and normal, just like you have to realize that you are now in a new life. So let's talk about how to break the attachment with the former spouse so you can start feeling better and healing and letting your nervous system know that it's okay and that this is a new normal. The first way to break the attachment is something simple that we all need to do. And if you, again, are someone who views or listens to this podcast, you know I talk a lot about the ways you can heal and do these things. And that is to get yourself out of that fight or flight sympathetic nervous system state and into that parasympathetic nervous system state, which is the state of calm. And ways you can do this are simple, but you need to start putting these into your daily practice and making them normal, because the more you make them normal, that means that your sympathetic nervous system will see them that way as well. And your parasympathetic nervous system jumps in to create that calm, that relaxation, that no need to fear or run away, right? So there are many ways to do this. One of the biggest and my favorite way is through breath work. You can also do meditation, yoga, sound healing, hypnotherapy, listening to calm music that doesn't talk about breaking up or any kind of music that may stir anger or feelings of worthlessness and things like that. So I've mentioned before, listening to really calm music, either with no words or more spiritual music. And that really helped me get through my own healing journey. Also dancing, I have a whole podcast on that. And that is a great way to just move your body and just let out stuff. You can also get out in nature, whether it's the beach or a lake or a forest, a mountain, whatever you live near. Everybody has some kind of nature, even a park. Get out, take off your shoes, walk around barefoot, really ground, feel the earth, look up at the sky, even lay down and look up at the sky. And especially when there's clouds, it's fun to watch those clouds moving. And it also gives you this sense of feeling really small and within that whole universe space, which I think is a beautiful thing, because it takes away from the enormous feeling of the heaviness that you might have. And especially when we're talking about getting detached from the former spouse. So that can put a lot of pressure on you, because you may not understand, why am I still so attached to this person? Why do I want to seek their opinion on something? Why do I think of them? Why do I care what they're doing? And so laying down and looking up at the clouds and getting out in nature and walking, exercising, eating healthy, staying away from alcohol, drugs, things like that, all of these are great ways to regulate the nervous system. So feel free to scroll through the podcast and look at all the different types of healing modalities that I mentioned, because any of these and all of these will be wonderful. And some things will resonate with you and some may not. So take a chance and try them out. The next way on how to break the attachment is by cutting the cord. And I love to look at this as kind of a visualization exercise. And there's a couple things that we can do here. And one is that when we cut the cord, we want to either sit down or lay down and close the eyes and imagine this cord that is connecting you to your former spouse. And it can be a long cord, it can be a short cord, it can be a beautiful cord like an umbilical cord, it can be a cord that is made of string or made of branches, leaves, flowers, however you see this, I want you to, and for all of us, this is going to be different. And so don't think of this as something silly, but really close your eyes and imagine you and your spouse are connected by this cord. And I want you to picture what that cord looks like. It may be twisty. It may have knots in places where you may have hit snafus in your relationship. It may be a beautiful cord. Maybe you just are really grateful for what you had, and you may have had children with that person. So visualize that cord and really see it. And now I want you to bend down. Around you, there is either a pair of scissors or a knife or something that is going to allow you to cut this cord. And you're very lovingly going to place your hand, your non-dominant hand, around the cord. And I want you to feel what that feels like. Does it feel hard, like a bunch of string or yarn? Does it feel soft and mushy? Does it feel like branches? What does it feel like? Imagine what that cord feels like with your non-dominant hand, and then take those scissors or that knife in your other hand, and I want you to very mindfully, very slowly put it on that cord and cut through it. And I want you to feel what it feels like to cut through that. Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it easy to cut through? And when that cord falls, I want you to take a really deep breath and then let it out through your mouth. And I want you to, with your eyes still closed, imagine yourself standing there now, and you are detached. This cord has fallen. And the rest of the cord, the part that still is connected to you, once you cut it, that part kind of shrivels up and falls to the ground around your feet. And I want you, still keeping your eyes closed, to take 3 deep breaths in through your nose for the count of 4, and then out through your mouth for the count of 4. And I want you to imagine standing in that place with that rest of that cord around you as it slowly disappears. And then after you take your 4 breaths, slowly open your eyes and imagine or know now that the cord is no longer there. And this is really a beautiful exercise, and you can do it if you need to do it with anything that you need to let go of. But if it didn't work within the space of this podcast because you are trying to concentrate on my words, I want you to go back. You can either replay this part or you can do it yourself and really just visualize that. And try not to visualize that as something negative or bad or wrong, but just rather as something beautiful and as a step to letting go. Now, there's another thing we can do. It's going to be a little hard to do. I don't think I can do it standing up. So I'm going to guide you through it. And I do this a lot with my, when I do speaking engagements, and it's kind of just to loosen us up. So you'll be standing up, and I want you to take your fingers and kind of touch them together. And I want you to place them behind your head, like behind your shoulders. And what we're going to do before we actually do it, I'm going to explain. We're going to take a super deep breath. And when we take that deep breath in, we're going to envision what we're letting go. So you can picture your spouse, your former spouse. You can picture that cord cutting that you just did. I mean, this is another way to release. And I use this for everything, by the way. I use this exercise for letting go of all kinds of things. If I'm feeling something negative, if I'm having a difficult day and I just need to let my energy out and whatever frustration is in my body, I use this exercise. So again, we're going to put the hands back behind us. We're going to take the deep breath. And as we take the deep breath, we're going to focus on the one thing that we're going to let go. And then when we exhale, really, we're going to exhale all that air out like a big exhale. And when we do that, we're going to take our hands over our head and we're going to throw them down to the ground. So it's going to be that. And do that. And sometimes I keep my eyes closed when I do this. Sometimes I usually keep my eyes closed when I do this, but sometimes I will open my eyes when I release it. And I want you to feel when you are releasing this down and out, I want you to feel that, all of that angst that you're feeling, that frustration, that whatever needs to be let go. It's energy that you don't want in your body, not necessarily bad energy, but energy you don't want it. And so I want you to really just throw it down. And again, this is a wonderful exercise that you can do for anything. But what I love about the cutting the cord exercise is it's more of a beautiful exercise where you are picturing all the love that you once had in this relationship at some point in time, right? And then you're gently and slowly and beautifully holding on to that cord with the non-dominant hand and then letting it go. And to me, this is just such a beautiful exercise. Whereas this other one I just showed you, which is more of an emotional release. And like I said, can be done for anything, anytime you feel like you need to release. And it's really a great tool because you'll feel it. And third, there's one more exercise that really helps with the release. And that's just by standing and shaking. Just standing there and shake it off, like Taylor Swift says, right? You shake your whole body and you can tap your heels if that feels good or not. I like to close my eyes when I'm shaking and actually incorporate this into my morning routine. When I wake up, there's certain exercises that I do, kind of a little bit of Qigong and a little bit of releasing that I do every morning before I even leave my bedroom to go make my tea and start my day. And so that is really, the shaking is a wonderful tool that you can have in your toolbox. Anytime you feel triggered, anytime you feel like something is just not clearing from you, some energy that's stuck, it's a great tool to use. So let me know which of these 3 exercises, or if you like all of them, which ones you try and which ones seem to work for you. And one might work at one point in time, one may work at another. But the second 2 are really ones you can use all the time. The cord cutting one is really a great one to learn how to move this energy around so you can detach from the former spouse. The third way to break the attachment with the ex-spouse is to work on changing your identity. Your nervous system sees the we of the marriage as the normal and consistent status, the safe status. So we need to, when we split up and now we're just the me, your nervous system is saying, wait a minute, what's happening? So you need to change your identity. And I'm not saying you need to change the color of your hair or lose 20 pounds or whatever. Although if that's something you want to do, then go for that. I'm talking about little changes, little tweaks to your daily routine, which will help you come out of your marital identity. So for example, let's say you and your spouse had coffee every morning, made coffee together and sat down and read the newspaper. So now you're going to switch that up. And instead of doing that, maybe you'll wake up, throw on some clothes and go outside for a brisk 10-minute walk, and then come back and make your coffee or tea and sit maybe outside and drink it, right? So it's just these little tweaks, these little routines that you can alter that kind of change what you did when you were married in that normal routine and make a new routine that helps to change your identity from a married person to the new person, the new you, the new version of you, which is you unmarried, right? Single. So work on those little tweaks that you can do every day and really try to change what routines were normal and create your own new routines that make you happy, that make you feel good. There's no limit. There's no rules. You get to decide because it's your journey. And the last thing I want to talk about is what it's going to feel like when you are truly detached from your former spouse. I'm sure you can imagine that all of these small changes and all of these new ways and means that we are taking on in our new life as a me, no longer part of that we, will help us to feel more hopeful. And because the healing journey is so difficult for most people and can take a lot of time, when we induce a little bit of hope by doing these small things, these small exercises, these small, just even recognition of things that we might not have realized before. And one of them might be, in general, just recognizing that you are still attached to your ex-spouse. And so once we recognize that, that in and of itself might feel a little bit more helpful. And once we start incorporating some of these things I've talked about in this episode, that should make us feel even more hopeful. And sometime down that road, you will start to actually feel more joyous. And I know this is the case because it happened to me and it happens to the people who I coach when we are working on these little things. And sometimes these little things might feel silly or like they won't make a difference, but I want you to keep trying them because you will find things that you like to do so that you can start creating this new version of your life as yourself. These new feelings that you start to feel, whether it be hope, whether it be joy, and these changes that you're making, the reason you'll start feeling a little bit more positive is because your nervous system is starting to recognize that this is the new normal. This is the new way things go. And that all of those new things that you're introducing, such as the walks or the exercise, the eating healthy, the meditation, the breath work, the yoga, all of the things, many of which are talked about in other episodes of this podcast. So if you want to learn how to get involved, you can check those out. But all of those things are just tweaks and new ways that we are setting ourselves up in this new life. And that joy that you feel, those little moments of, I got this, or even moments of joy, which will grow in time and you'll experience more of them. But when you start to experience the little bits of them, it means that it's working. It means that you are actually letting your parasympathetic nervous system take over, and your sympathetic nervous system is stepping back and realizing that this is the new normal. This is the new you, and keep at it. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I want to also thank you so much for being a listener or viewer of the Divorce to Bliss podcast. If you enjoy this episode or any of the others, please do me the honor of subscribing, liking, sharing, and even passing this on to others you may know who could benefit. Because you never know when somebody else who is healing might really recognize that one of these topics is going to help them and might jumpstart their healing journey. So again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you for being here and can't wait to see you in the next episode.